This is Bumper. Bumper is a dog. Originally, the Humane Society told us that he was part Australian Shepherd, and you could kind of see it in the fuzzy little furball that he was. But now that he has reached his full size, it is clear that he is no such thing. As best we can find on the internet, he appears to exhibit both the characteristics, the hair, and the look of a breed known as Havanese. Look at that face. Look at that sad little adorable face. And look at this. Well, that's in here. But look at this hair. Look at it. Yes. He's a little mop. And today, he's going in for his first mop cut. We don't know what he's going to look like because we don't really have any preconceived notions of what dogging grooming should look like. But we're going to find out. And I'm sure Bumper's going to have a lot of fun. Bumper is done. It's time to go see what he looks like. A little concerned, but it is what it is. Well, we're going to see if we can see him in the window before we go in to get him. So not too long ago, I changed out the mesh network, the Eero, and one of the things that went, well, it was almost gone, was my old security camera system. It only connected via cable, and there are no more cables. It has the worst app known to man for actually using it. You can't get to it from the website. You have to do it from an app, and the app sucked. And now they've pulled it from the App Store. It won't be compatible with iOS 11. And there doesn't appear to be a replacement because, of course, they want you to buy a new security system. But what I loved about it was that it had these gorgeous color wireless cameras, so you don't have to wire them up. You still had to wire them to power, but you didn't have to run anything back to a central location. So I've been slowly replacing this with a canary system, and today I replaced the backyard camera with a canary. And so now we've got my coverage in the driveway, in the backyard, and around the house is all mostly replaced. And I've got one that covers the same area, but I don't quite like it. So I'm going to get another one here in a while. But that one's going to be a little more complicated to get power to, so I don't know what I'm going to do there. But I'm covered. I've got motion detection. And I've got it all being streamed up to the net so I can review the videos. So that's good. That's good. Sometimes Chuan is so funny. She's outside, and the reason is that yesterday Bumper got a wash and a haircut, and today Ollie got a wash, and she doesn't want them to get dirty, so she won't let them go outside unsupervised. She takes them out and she makes sure that they don't get in the dirt when they go, and then brings them back in. It only lasts a day or two, but during that initial couple of clean days, she just can't bear the idea of dogs being, well, dogs. We got an extra piece of the baseboard that we didn't need, or the toe kicks for the IKEA cabinets, so we're returning to IKEA to return them. Disappointed. Yeah, that's the word. Disappointed. So my dear old MacBook Pro Retina here is getting a little bit long in the tooth. Still perfectly serviceable for the most part. Struggles a bit with 4K video. But my son's MacBook Pro, which is my old one, which is by definition, I kept this one a long time, so I kept that one a long time. That one's pushing upwards towards 8 years now, or his old one. It's 7 and a bit. It's struggling, and it's time. So we're doing the cascadey thing, and we ordered the new MacBook Pro for me on the weekend, and it was supposed to be delivered Thursday, which is tomorrow. And we were given tracking numbers, but every time we would check the tracking numbers for days, it kept saying that the label had been printed but the device had not been shipped. And finally today, Wednesday, it says it's shipped, but it has updated it so that my delivery date will be Friday. So I'm a little bit bummed about that. I really, really wish they could have gotten it here today when I'm working at home, so that I could have been at the door. Typically, if you buy stuff from Amazon, very expensive stuff, they don't care. UPS will just drop the stuff off at the door and that's the end of it. But Apple won't do that. Apple requires for UPS to get a signature. But then they turn around and give you the option to pre-sign for it, fill out the paperwork, and then leave a note on the door saying, go ahead and leave it. I don't like doing that, but picking it up at the store wasn't an option. So that's what we have to do. And so I'm going to at least have them put it out, where it's in 100% plain sight of the security cameras, and hopefully, if they deliver it before lunchtime, I'll come home at lunch and get it, and if they don't deliver it before lunchtime, I'll be very depressed, and if they don't deliver it before I get home from work, I'll be very depressed, and if they don't deliver it before I go to bed, I'll be absolutely depressed and very angry. But at the moment, I'm just disappointed. Time for a follow-up. A few months ago, all right, let's go back, because I love giving the history of everything back to the beginning of time before I start talking about what I want to talk to you about. I used to carry a wallet, traditional billfold, in my back pocket, and I began to get back sitting problems, nerve problems. It would pinch off and I would get numb leg. Sometimes the whole side would get kind of numb. And I ultimately tracked it down to the fact that it was always the side the wallet was in, and so I took the wallet out and found out, and I put it in the other pocket and found out then that side started to go numb. So I switched to carrying my wallet in my front pocket. But big old wallet, front pocket, inconvenient, especially when you're carrying your phone, your keys, and all that stuff. So a few months ago, that's why I got this slimline wallet, and really culled down what I carry with me. I've got in here 2 credit cards, 1 restaurant rewards card, because I use it all the time, my insurance card, my ID, and my work ID, plus a couple of bills tucked away. It's very thin. It's basically an elastic band, and as I showed you in the earlier one, you pull it out and it pulls up cards and you can get to them and whatnot. Now, I've had some problems with it. Shortly after I got it, it began to fray, and some of this elastic stitching, particularly right along in here, which you probably can't see, right along in here, started to come loose, and I cut it off. But my thought was that was the end of this wallet. It was going to fall apart in no time. But it has, in fact, not had any further progression of that problem. But it does have one other problem, and I'm going to show it to you here, kind of with the back side of my credit card, not the front side. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. Let's see. Can I get a focus on it? It's chewing up my credit cards. It's chewing up my state ID. It's basically ruining everything I've got in it because the edges are exposed and pulling it in and pulling it out. And in this state, for example, your driver's license, you don't have to get a new picture, but new card, but every, I don't know, 20 years? It's a long, long time. And so the fact that it's now causing my driver's license to fall apart is a little bit annoying. So I'm going to get rid of it. And but I like having a small wallet in my front pocket. I don't want to go back to a big one. So I ran across this thing, and it's a little. This is a handmade wallet by somebody who is recycling old fire hose. And it has that unique fire hose smell. Hand stitch. This is basically a fold-over front pocket wallet that will support about the same number of cards I have, and you can slip a little money underneath it, and that's it. And so I'm gonna give this a little go and see if it's also cheap, and see if this works for me. It kind of needs to be trained a bit, and so I'm having to trying to crush it. That's why I haven't put my stuff in hand, but we'll see if it works out. But at least it will protect the cards, and so they won't have their edges destroyed anymore. I was looking at a different one, but it had RFID protection on it, and yeah, crazy whack job loonies. The whole point is that I can put my government ID in here and I can use the RFID without taking the card out. Why would I want somebody not to be able to scan it? Crying out loud. Nobody is going to come up to my pocket with a card reader and get money out of it. And even if they did, it's a credit card. It's guaranteed not to do. I can get it back. Anyway. Well, this is the second time in 2 days that I've seen this. Flocks of birds flying north. Isn't that backwards? I guess it's some sort of localized spatial anomaly, but the birds are migrating. And somehow this is an interesting dilemma. That car needs to come out. I don't know if that car wants its parking spot, but they seem like the lazy kind that would want one right in front. And they're going to cut out there just in case that's what I was waiting for, because they're selfish bastards. But what we really need to know is that you need to stay there. I don't want your parking spot. Anyway, so birds, flocks of birds, even if they are heading the wrong direction, that tells me that winter is coming. It's lunchtime, it's Friday. My MacBook Pro hasn't been delivered yet. I'm very disappointed. Oh, for crying out loud, look at this. Talk about obsessively over-engineered. So I pull the flaps back, and it lifts the MacBook up to make it a little easier to pull out. Oh, my beautiful, beautiful MacBook Pro. We're heading for the Apple Store. Time to get dongles. After much thought, not so much thought, I initially plugged my MacBook Pro, the new one, in, and Macs offer a migration assistant that, if you can hook the two Macs together, it will take everything. Very few things break when you do a migration assistant. The only thing I've ever consistently had trouble with is Adobe products, because Adobe are jackasses. But everything else just usually goes right across, and it's a beautiful and it's a wonderful thing. And it's a great way when you're migrating from, an old computer to your new one. However, cannot direct connect my two computers together because of the MacBook Pro's USB-C exclusive port arrangement. And so I was trying to do it by wireless. And even with good wireless, it was going to take 7 hours, and I was too impatient. So I decided impulsively to set up my new computer from scratch, which is okay. I've got a backup of the other computer. Of course, I still got the other computer, but I've got a backup of it, a bootable backup on an external hard drive, and I can just plug that in and copy any data across that I need. But by and large, most of my stuff important is in iCloud, and so that's already synced down. And I did do the migration assistant of just the network settings and the computer, so it got all that stuff for me. So I was up and ready to get on the network, and so that was good. What I'm encountering, though, is that the USB-C thing is a bigger pain in the butt than I thought it was going to be. You hear a lot of people complaining, oh, MacBook Pro, that doesn't have anything but USB-C, and I got to have a dongle for this, and a dongle for that, and a dongle for the other thing. I want to be buying dongles for days. And my thought is, so if you have, for example, an external hard drive that is a USB hard drive, don't buy a dongle to connect to the cable to connect to the USB hard drive. Just buy the right cable, right? I mean, yes, there's an investment in cables, and I'm not saying that's not significant or that it's not something that you need to be thinking about. But, the complaint of having dongles hanging off the computer seems like, frankly, a bullshit one. And it may not be, because I can't find the cables I want. I found one that goes from USB-C to a USB-B connector. That's the big, ugly printer-like looking ones. That is, high-speed USB compatible that I'm going to need for the Drobo. So I'll have to get that. It's $10. It's like a dongle to adapt it. It's $30. So why wouldn't you buy the cable? Right? That one's fine. But there are certain things like USB-C, which is also Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2, with apparently, as far as I can tell, you can't do it with a cable. You have to have some sort of electronics in there. And even that one that I bought yesterday that I showed you. I'll show you the box again. This is HDMI. Now, USB-C supports DV output. I mean, it should just be capable of having the right cable to your monitor. I'm going to get one, and there are cables, But, for the moment, all I've got is HDMI around the house, and I wanted to get things up and running, so I got this because, and it was ridiculously expensive, but because it does HDMI, but it also allows me to plug in just my regular USB devices, like the Drobo, for the time being until I get all the cables straightened out. This required a firmware update when I plugged it in. It's like, it's got something in there. And then, like I say, just looking for the various cables, it's not as easy to find them as I had hoped. I like the idea of USB-C. I like it a lot. But, they need to get their shit together and get some cables made for the various purposes, because I don't have dongles all over the place. It's just that simple. And the other thing, and everyone gripes about this, and rightly so, right? And rightly so. One of the greatest inventions of all time. I mean, hands down, one of the best technological innovations I have ever seen in my life. It's a stupid little thing, but it is so, so clever, and it is so, so marvelous. And that is the MagSafe connectors that MacBooks have had for a long time. That's just, it's freaking genius. And the fact that they got away, not only did they get away from it, and because USB-C will charge the computer, so they don't just only have USB-C ports, but USB-C cables, everyone that I've got, and I've got 3 things that plug into it right at the moment, and all of them are a nightmare to pull out. I mean, you gotta give it a good yank, which means that if you trip over your USB-C power thing, this little tiny, lightweight, just ethereal almost laptop is going to go, and I'm not going to be happy if that happens. Not going to be happy at all. All right, well, I think, I'm still working on setting this thing up. I am actually in the process of editing this episode on this MacBook, so it's the first one that's going to be edited on it. We're making some changes here, so which you may notice in just a few seconds. But I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a revamp of my Tedium Unlimited boilerplates and stuff. So look for some exciting changes coming soon.